I lifted my head. Water was filling the resort hallway. It was slightly murky, not the clear, disinfected blue of a theme park pool, but something closer to rainwater. Rumble, the water poured in, forming waves. I watched as the thick current, which strangely did not enter the open management office, surged through the dark hallway of the Flower Golden Resort. That overwhelming vista, and a telepathic voice echoed,
"Good child."
I stepped towards the water's edge, and unable to think of a more fitting title, I called out.
"Venerable one,"
it said.
"Come here."
The rainwater rippled, took on an outline, and splashed into the empty air of the hallway, as if beckoning. I put my hand into the waterway. My cloth hand got soaked and was sucked heavily into the water, strangely deep. Splash, and just like that I sank. My breathing was not difficult, it was peaceful. I lowered my head. I watched as the scale in my arms shimmered even in the opaque water, then dissolved away, and then rumble. The current surged, flowing fiercely toward the other end of the hallway. The hallway scenery changed in an instant. The water around me cushioned the movement, keeping me from crashing into anything. Even submerged, vision blurred, I saw it. A Daydream character, the dragon character from Daydream, holding a pair of office scissors, was finally submerged by the massive wave it encountered, its cotton stuffing getting soaked as it sank. Its outline flickered in the current. The blackish golden liquid covering the character was washed away. The Daydream character, its shoddy stitching fully exposed, seemed to spot me and tried to raise its scissors, but it was swept away by a current stronger than itself. A wave. It tore the creature apart. The worm-like things that had been squirming in the gaps of the Daydream character also scattered into the deep water. The remaining scraps of the Daydream character drifted downward, settling like sediment on the hallway floor, sinking as if to the bottom of the sea. I watched the overwhelming sight in silence. Rumble, the water kept flowing. I passed through the hallway and finally emerged into the vast lobby of the old Flower Golden Resort. There, too, the water lapped at the walls. The lobby doors, unable to withstand the water pressure, burst open and the waterway surged forward again. The voice came again.
"Now here."
Outside the resort, all the way to the gate. I carefully pulled myself out of the water. I walked to the gate and looked beyond the yellow zone. It was where the blue zone used to be. In my mental world, that place was. The Blue Dream Water Park was now submerged. A vast expanse of water covered everything. The swimming pools, the wave pool, the lazy river, the artificial ponds, the sea. That place had become the sea. A strange lump rose in my throat. The act of cutting out a piece of the sea and cramming it into a swimming pool. The act of adding preservative so it wouldn't rot, even when stagnant. I couldn't understand why all of it felt so cruel, or whose emotions these were. The wave said.
"I am okay."
I lowered my head. The wave rippled and spoke.
"Here."
I saw it. The gate I must pass through. EXIT. Please come again. It seemed I could exit my mental world if I went through this gate. Then I could wake up. Thanks to the one inside the blue mascot who answered my call, I had been saved from being murdered as the persona of the good friend. But if I leave, Director Chong will just use another method. So, the wave asked.
"Are you worried?"
"Yes, I am worried."
The wave rippled.
"I will help you."
I knew what those words meant, that it would deal with Director Chong. That was a possibility I had hoped for to some extent when I used the scale. That its identity as the master of the deep sea would be conceptually advantageous against Guang Shiol, who is symbolized by fire and drought, because in a ghost story, that's what matters. But is it really okay? I knew I should just nod eagerly. Whatever Director Chong did, while stuffing that dragon into the blue mascot, whatever might happen when it confronted her, it was offering to help. My situation wasn't one where I could afford to worry about ghost stories. At this rate, my ego would collapse, and I'd be permanently stuck in the security team's basement. It wouldn't be strange to be panicking, I knew that, but...
"Thank you, but I think it might be too dangerous."
I crouched down and smiled faintly at the waterway.
"Director Chong has already harmed you once, Venerable One. There's no guarantee she won't do it again."
Yes, it felt good to say it. This felt right.
"So, I would appreciate it if you could just lend me what power you can without revealing yourself."
But the wave said,
"No."
"What?"
"I am already here."
"What?"
"Here."
It was saying it had already answered my call, that it had arrived on the rooftop of Segwang City Hall during closing time. Wait a minute.
"It's dangerous."
Besides, if it did that, it might not be able to return to being a mascot. Without a manager to hand over operations to like I did, that was a suicidal act. A mascot isn't supposed to leave the theme park. That identity was a restriction, but it was also a source of authority if it lost all that by doing this.
You might disappear.
It's okay.
Droplets formed on the wave as if soothing me.
It's okay.
No, this wasn't reassurance that it would be okay. It was comfort and
I want this.
a guarantee that this is an act the dragon itself desires. Because in addition to helping me, it has its own karma to resolve with Director Cheong. In that case,
So that doesn't happen. I will do my best to assist you.
I explained my plan. The wave seemed to listen intently, and then the great dragon beneath the wave agreed.
Thank you.
And
Now go.
the waterway like a hand gave me a gentle push. I lost my balance and fell past the exit gate.
Grape-sea.
I opened my eyes. Plink, plonk. Raindrops were falling on my face. Just like in the mental world, the rain soaked my body. I reflexively lifted my head. The giant eye that had appeared in the sky was now gone. Director Cheong's eye. Dark clouds heavy with rainwater were covering it.
Are you conscious? Hurry.
Someone pulled me up. When I turned my head, I saw not only a lizard's face but also blue jackets. Wait a minute, the agents? Did they get here in that time? I scrambled to my feet. My arm was broken. Coincidentally, it was the same arm that was torn in the mental world. Was I caught again on the emergency stairs, dragged into the sky, and then dropped onto the rooftop? Gritting my teeth, I looked around. Among the people surrounding me, I saw an unexpected person.
Agent Choge?
The lion mask nodded.
Oh, the agent from the subway. Guangxiao seems to have lost its strength from the Azure Dragon's energy. In this gap, quickly.
From the sky, a huge, heavy voice echoed.
You have a talent for making things difficult.
I swallowed. The agents moved me behind them, bracing themselves without looking up. Not a very obedient attitude, Agent Choi shouted.
Director of a pharmaceutical company. Have you ever heard of a Ministry of Employment and Labor audit?
Killer word choice. For a second there, I thought I'd been caught in a supernatural phenomenon that sent me back to the 80s.
It seems the state's foot soldiers have developed a habit of speaking carelessly. Trespassing, without permission, in a place you shouldn't be.
Someone retorted.
Huh? Since when did Sigwang Metropolitan City become a daydream corporate city?
I saw the cold sweat trickling down Agent Choi's neck. What are they doing? Now that I looked, the agents were preparing something. Agent Choge shook the lion mask as if to draw its attention.
Surely you don't believe in these dark clouds and rain. Are you waiting for the Dragon King of the East Sea to appear with lightning?
The voice from above replied.
You know it well, Guangxiao. You'd better run with your tail between your legs.
Unfortunate. That one has been unemployed for a long time.
What did you say?
It seems you haven't heard the news in a few years. That after he lost his job, he struggled to find new work, and finally took a job opportunity I arranged for him. What could I do when he said he wanted to work, even in a vulgar profession like wearing a character costume and acting cute? I had to help him.
Insulting remarks poured down. Agent Choge froze. The lion mask trembled.
However, he won't be able to leave that little amusement park now. He's being treated according to his abilities.
You?
Go on. Call out with all your might again. Calling the Azure Dragon. Well, you all have your vain rituals, don't you?
I placed a hand on Agent Choge's shoulder.
There's no need to call. Agent,
I said.
because he is already here, down below.
I pointed below the rooftop. Thunk. On the roadside of the old Segwang Metropolitan City, a fire hydrant on the side of the wide road suddenly burst open from all sides, and rumble, water shot up. From the rooftop, it looked like a painting. The streams of water from Blue Dream Water Park spread across the ground in an instant, covering the roads. Small, neat finishing touches appeared on the outskirts of the roads where the water pooled. The tiles of Blue Dream Water Park. Yes. I've already expanded a second branch of the theme park in the subway system there. Since that infrastructure is in place, how about a temporary opening of Blue Dream Water Park next to it? The cost won't be great, like a pop-up, and so it was done. Following a proven method, the swimming pool filled the subway maintenance tracks like a sea and flooded onto the surface, revealing the theme park of dreams. A brief hallucination that would vanish once people filled Sekwang Special City again and daily life resumed. A fragment of Blue Dream Water Park, but that alone was enough.
Director,
I said.
he has come for you.
A massive form emerged from the water of the water park. A waterway. Rippling and dancing as it soared into the air, it had no fixed form. But an appearance was projected onto it according to the symbols imagined by civilization and stories. The streamlined body of a snake, the eyes of a rabbit, the ears of an ox, the talons of a hawk, the paws of a tiger, and the antlers of a deer. All of it was wreathed in cloud-like fins and winding whiskers as it soared to the sky. Ascension.
Guangxiol is fire and drought.
I said.
Behold the waterway that drives out fire and drought.
A trembling voice responded.
The procession of our Lord.
The dragon's form enveloped the city hall, casting a shadow over the rooftop. But as it drew closer, I saw its form was crumbling in places. Missing scales, parts of its claws whitened and worn down, the cruel and merciless traces of torture, as if chunks of its flesh had been pickled in a jar of salt water. And yet it was so powerful, divine, beautiful. I felt like if I got any closer, I would want to pluck out my eyes and offer them. Agent Hagum warned.
Don't look too closely. You might not be able to handle it.
I gasped for breath and let my gaze blur, but even blurred, its silhouette and presence pressed down on the rooftop, awe and terror intertwined. The azure dragon, its massive form flashed amidst the dark clouds, a divine figure, and a gaze. Flash, lightning struck, illuminating the sky. A faint voice came from beyond the dark clouds.
As the 5 elements say, water overcomes and suppresses fire. Fire and drought crumble before the procession of the Dragon King of the East Sea, who has brought the rain. Yes. And, did you think of something like that?
Amusement rippled through the massive voice.
You all are truly old-fashioned. What ancient story are you talking about? Wait, behold!
The sky opened, a head made of a giant eye. Where the head should be, a crystal shimmers. Instead of a head, there is a giant eyeball transparent enough to see through. Inside, numerous circles glitter and look around, spinning round and round. The crystal is a powerful energy source that should not be gazed at. It flashes in various colors and then is invaded by blackness. A scream of pure horror tore through the air.
Now the countless eyes see. Do you think I fear water?
Something that was neither dragon nor snake. A disaster that was once clearly of a similar form now rolled dozens of pupils in a giant eye like a massive crystal ball, in place of the head that should rightfully be on its body. Each and every one of those pupils was a divine power. Beyond fire and drought, sulfur and floods and hell surged. Disaster, disaster! A voice like a corporate executive giving advice flowed from within the sky.
Yes, not anymore. This is all self-improvement. Would it do to live for long ages in society with the title of executive and not have this kind of development? This is all just the obvious law of the world. How could you not know? You all.
The rain stopped.
Aren't you all just lazy?
The clouds were torn apart, and the waterway in the shape of a dragon convulsed, its incomplete form laid bare. But it was still powerful and did not disappear. It resisted. I knew I shouldn't look at that desperate and unbearable sight, but I couldn't look away. A wicked gaze turned toward us, dozens of eyes.
Did you believe that as the years flow and the rivers and mountains change, everything would stay the same?
Yes. This insane, massive being had already stolen and grafted divine powers from countless ghost stories over the ages it took for the rivers and mountains to change. The characteristics of fire and drought were now just a fraction of it. I had made a miscalculation. Time was on Chongdali's side, and in that time, that thing had already become a more powerful and indescribable being.
But even as the years flow and the rivers and mountains change, some things remain.
I turned my head. A faint fog had now settled on the rooftop. No, a cloud. The dragon's power shielding us, however briefly, from the corrupt gaze and voice. For a moment I could breathe, and I saw the agent in the lion mask raising a hand to point at the bizarre disaster.
Just as that being's identity hasn't changed over all those long years. Greedy, ill-tempered, even its malicious nature of harming people. It's the same.
I turned the words over in my mind.
Actually, there's no error in the folklore either.
I remembered.
That's because the Guangxiol folktale was already passed down in various regions in the late Joseon dynasty as a monster that brought about disasters other than fire and drought.
It even includes things that are opposites in the 5 elements, like storms and hail.
But there is also something that doesn't change.
I noticed it, that was.
That it is a disaster that ruins farming.
That core remained the same.
Guangxiol is still the disaster called Guangxiol.
Agent Choge looked back at me.
Right, that's it. Still a disaster. And our ancestors devised a way to fight this supernatural disaster since long ago.
The corners of his mouth turned up in a smile, as if he'd noticed that I'd led the conversation this far to draw this conclusion.
Dependable agent, do you know the method?
I did.
Chasing Guangxiol.
The ritual that is the origin of the rain-alling ceremony. A rite to call for rain by chasing away the natural disaster that ruins farming, named Guangxiol.
That's right.
A clap.
Do you know how to do it?
I do.
But I hesitated for a moment before adding,
In theory.
That's enough.
From behind, Agent Choi grabbed my back, and as he retrieved the nearly broken bell from my waist, he patted my back.
I'm taking this, Grape's Eye.
Now, let's do it together.
I lifted my head.
Oh, civilian, you're going to help too?
Beyond where Agent Choi and Section Chief Lee Jahian were talking, Agent Hagum was looking at the sky.
The reason for chasing it hasn't changed.
She sheathed her sword.
Its corrupt identity hasn't changed.
She took out an instrument.
And the divine being who will listen to our plea is here.
She looked at me.
The ritual want the resources. Let's make it a lively one.
The sound of a small gong rode the beat and rang across the rooftop. Chasing Guangqiao, the rain-calling ceremony had begun.
Ooh.
Lee Songhai lifted her head. A raindrop landed on her nose. From the sky, now swallowed by dark clouds, rain began to fall in soft pitter-patter drops.
Are you okay?
Yes.
And next to her was someone running toward their destination, Go Yoongyun. Lee Songhae had decided to help this employee and had left the resort for Segwang Metropolitan City. And in the hands of the anxious-looking Go Yoongian, the map she had received from the mascot was held tightly, spread open. She had already come quite a long way. She ran, practically crossing the city, entered a residential area, and kept moving. Without a moment's rest, she continuously looked at the map while walking along the street, and then she came to a dead stop. A house stood before them, a slightly old detached home in a redevelopment zone. A navy blue roof, red brick walls. Go Youngjin stared at it, trembling. A familiarity her body remembered, a closeness that remained even if the knowledge had vanished. She recognized it, her home. Someone burst out the front door, someone she knew, her family.
Young Yoon. Mom.
Go Youngjun tightly hugged her family, who were repeating.
Oh my god, what is happening? Oh my god.
And she experienced a full-body wave of relief and a welling surge of emotion. Lee Seongai watched with a pleased, calm expression. She didn't understand the thrill of the moment, but it seemed good. Then she suddenly lifted her head. The rain had stopped, and a strange vibration began to be faintly felt from the walls and the floor. In her family's embrace, Go Youngyeon snapped her head around. One accustomed to supernatural phenomena, to the darkness, keenly notices the abnormal signs.
Assistant manager. Just now?
Oh.
Was that from the direction of City Hall?
The direction the others went, where Kim Solium is.
Just a moment.
Lee Songai took out a small telescope-shaped item and checked ahead. Toward the Segwang City Hall building, far in the distance, barely visible in the hazy view due to the dark clouds.
Looks like there's something on the roof.
Under the dark sky, Go Youngjun catches her breath. Will they be okay? Even though she had already chosen her priorities, she clenched her teeth against the stabbing moral judgment, the anguish, the internal conflict, and finally asked,
What does the situation look like?
Lee Songhae was completely oblivious to the other's conflicted state of mind, but she could clearly describe what she saw, so she answered with a voice full of conviction.
It looks like a festival.
Meanwhile, on the rooftop, I lifted my head. A sound rings out across the sky, the voice of the lead chanter. After it, clear striking sounds ring out as if building to a climax. The kwangwari rang out in a rapid rhythm, along with bells full of syncopation and ornamentation, and the heavy sound of a gong rang out. I look at Agent Hagium, at her steady gaze, at the giant gong held in her hand.
The joyous sound of the gods of heaven and earth rings out.
Chasing Guangqiao is the prototype of a rain-making ceremony. And if there is one universal pattern in primordial rain rituals across cultures, it is this. People cry out earnestly to the mighty being who governs the rain. It's natural, because they are asking for rain. They try to negotiate, try to please the other party. However, chasing Guangqiao is different. This is an attempt to drive out the natural disaster symbolized by drought, exorcism, expulsion. Not an act of negotiating with the opponent, but of driving them out. One of the most ancient exorcism rituals in tradition. But there is another peculiar point. This is not something solemnly performed alone by a single capable superstitious authority figure. It is done by a crowd. People who live together gather and make noise. That is chasing Guangqiao. A long, joyful shout rang out. They shouted at the top of their lungs and joyfully clapped out a rhythm. The golden plate of the kwangwari vibrated and trembled like the wings of a hummingbird. Agent Hagium raised her arm as if to strike the sky itself, then brought the gong down and strode across the rooftop. As the dragon coiled through the clouds above, the agent ran. She ran. Will you chase away the drought? If so, you must ride the mountain ridges and make a clamorous noise to confuse Guangqiao. If there are no mountains here, then this giant building must be the mountain. They ran and leaped around the rooftop, like a Pungmalnori performance. Their feet traced every contour, railings, ladders, water tanks. No hesitation. No fear of falling, only powerful, joyful, fast steps, and behind the gong bearer, those with instruments and those clapping joined in, creating a glorious cacophony, the massive sound of the gong, as if it would tear the sky. The sound of the kakwangwari, the ring of bells, clapping, all those intense, percussive sounds rose and fell, forming a chaotic harmony that bounced off the rooftop and into the sky. At that sound, the dragon made of waterways shuddered, its scales and insides rumbling. Ripples spread across its body, and it moved more vividly, as if waking. A huge eye peered down from between the thick clouds, but the violent metallic sound waves rebounded upward, obscuring its vision again with a shimmering haze. The rippling wave of the disaster, as if growling in displeasure, was cancelled out by the noise, I realized. All this spiritually potent noise served a dual purpose: to exclude and expel the target they were trying to chase away, and to protect the minds of those performing the ritual.
Do not stay here.
It didn't stop. There was no set rhythm. The primordial ritual, in which such details were not standardized, naturally left the choice of rhythm to the crowd. Naturally, the most familiar rhythms harmonized with each other. The sky distorted.
All right, let's go.
I opened a bottle of water. I followed alongside Agent Choi and sprinkled it. He shook the bells like he was dancing, and with a nimble flick, he caught the droplets I scattered on the bells. Section Chief Lee Jaehyun tore a steel railing from the rooftop and tied the bells to its end, turning it into a pole. When Guangcheol is confused and paces its head, flick water on its nose. It's a procedure derived from the tradition that Guangcheol, with water in its nose, can no longer breathe fire. Here the fire is of course symbolic, and its meaning is to make it so Guangcheol can no longer bring disaster upon this land. This was interpreted as the action of flicking water droplets toward the sky. But since that strange disaster is actually visible in the sky here,
Let's go.
the people head for the mountaintop to perform the ritual at the closest possible place. Above the rooftop entrance, onto the rooftop structure, they leaped up in joyous frenzy. The following footsteps and the percussive sounds made the sky ring. A strange conviction rose. A sensation felt at the end of the ritual. A tingling, it's working. The pleasure of knowing the correct answer to a problem. The sense of accomplishment just before crossing the finish line. The anticipation of turning the corner just before arriving home. The intense premonition of the ritual's performers, of its participants, enveloped me. This will succeed, and I was definitely not the only one who felt it.
Block the disaster and make it fall flat, so it can't sit on the mountain ridge. Make it get up and flee.
The movements and footsteps of everyone around me began to align with uncanny precision. A trance. Afterimages trailed behind every motion on the rooftop. The golden arcs of percussion instruments, the clapping hands, the falling droplets from the bells, all drew lines in the air, forming a pattern. The dragon rode those lines, rippling through the sky. Everyone intuitively knew that all of it was heading toward completion, but that meant, oh please, it meant the subject of this ritual knew it too. Guangcheol.
Do not stay here.
The lead chanter's shout, belted at the top of their lungs, split the sky. From the being hidden by clouds and golden noise, a dull voice was heard.
To be subjected to this again after all these years.
It was unpleasant, but also interesting. Annoyance and distortion twisted through its voice. It was clearly being affected.
Congratulations. You'll succeed soon. Yes. But let's not listen. What do you plan to do after you've driven me out? I'm curious whose permission you have to be chasing me away.
Threats and interference, I naturally thought it would try them. The gathered people continued the ritual unchanged.
It's pure curiosity. What do you think you have to back you up, mere individuals that you are? Who will handle the aftermath of chasing me from this place? If you disappear, there's no need to, but I will return.
That wasn't the typical movie villain's declaration of recovering their strength and returning someday. It was an inevitability, a dry statement of something guaranteed. As I bent down on the rooftop to provide a stepping stone for Agent Choi to jump onto the sky, I realized something. Farming is a one-year cycle, and we are chasing away the disaster that ruins the farm work. What that means is, this ritual is not a permanent expulsion ritual, but a seasonal ritual. When the time comes again, it must be done again. Drought, storms, hail, wildfires, all the disasters that ruin farm work return with the seasons under the name of terror. So chasing Guangcheol is a one-year reprieve.
Are you doing something as stupid as taking out a loan from a loan shark? to pay off a bank debt. Ha 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 ha. When it returns, it's over.
Besides, it's not like we've bought a year's time. We are not living in ancient times where chasing away Guangqiao was the end of it. That monster is in the modern world, breathing in our daily lives. As my boss, as the boss of the person next to me, as a corporate figure exerting influence on the government, as a powerful business partner, as a powerful factor that can make life miserable. Right, Director Chong can make anyone's life a living hell without even being present, because there's a system to do it for her, social and supernatural power. A system that will act in her stead, even in her absence, because it knows she will return. Right now, haven't I burdened these people with an outrageous grudge? Am I not just distributing the terrible consequences of an unbearable future among everyone here? These people are all willingly sharing it, for me and for this city. No, I realize. This chasing Guangxiao ritual will definitely work, and Director Chong will disappear for a while. And I can get a temporary reprieve from being dragged into Daydream. However, in the meantime, these people's lives, and perhaps everyone connected to this ritual, everyone in Director Ho's project, will become miserable. I can't know the fate of Segwang Metropolitan City either. This was a foreordained disaster that couldn't be avoided no matter what I chose. On this rooftop filled with the premonition of success, I felt myself falling, and I realize, no, I knew it all along, that there is only one way to prevent all the calamities I foresaw. The powerful condition that would allow this rain-making ceremony to truly exert its full effect as a year of freedom. Yes, this was the only way. In that case, I have to do it. The crowd shouted, and I saw Agent Choi on the rooftop structure, holding the pole with the water-drenched bells, planting his feet. Originally, I was supposed to support him as his stepping stone, but I straightened my body.
What are you doing?
I jumped up with him. Agent Choi clenched his teeth and reflexively grabbed me to keep me from falling. I used that as support, and together we climbed. I clung to the dragon. I climbed the curves of the water that had taken form, the body of the dragon heading upward, alone.
Grapesy!
At the very place where I was supposed to flick water onto that black, many-eyed spinning thing in the sky, I took out the employment contract, and I read. The contract read,
300666's employment contract. The standard security team contract used by Chong Dalei, the managing director of the development department at Daydream, Inc. Kim Solam's signature is written at the bottom. It is now irreversible. The effect of this contract originates from the authority of the Yellow Dragon, and Chiang Dalai is using it by seizing the core of this authority from the dragon entity that was demoted to a Daydream mascot. The remaining entity is presumed to have been inserted into a certain theme park ghost story at the Cheerful Research Institute. For detailed records, see the Pleasant Theme Park entry. A faint trace of the core remains on the contract. It looks like an eyeball, and this form is reminiscent of the wish-fulfilling orb of the dragon in folklore. Chiang Dalei placed the dragon cores she collected into a giant eye, using dozens of eyeballs as a symbol of her ability. All of this authority is stored in the form of contracts, classified into respective binders, and placed on the bookshelf in Zhang Dalai's private office. The original of Kim Solium's contract exists within the authority of the Yellow Dragon binder.
I said.
Now,
I deleted the first line, 130666's employment contract, and the lines that said, Kim Solium's signature is written at the bottom. It is now irreversible, and I continued reading. I read the remainder without the deleted parts.
The effect of this contract originates from the authority of the Yellow Dragon, and Chiang Dalei is using it, seizing the core of this authority from the dragon entity that was demoted to a Daydream mascot. The remaining entity is presumed to have been inserted into a certain theme park ghost story at the Cheerful Research Institute. For detailed records, see the Pleasant Theme Park entry. A faint trace of the core remains on the contract. It looks like an eyeball, and this form is reminiscent of the wish-fulfilling orb of the dragon folklore. Chiang Dalei placed the dragon cores she collected into a giant eye, using dozens of eyeballs as a symbol of her ability. All of this authority is stored in the form of contracts, classified into respective binders, and placed on the bookshelf in Chiang Dalei's private office. The original of Kim Sulam's contract exists within the authority of the Yellow Dragon binder.
In exchange for my freedom, I collapse. My identity recovered and grown through so many experiences and realizations melts away. The self and reason I had carefully nurtured scatter. Grief, despair, and panic surge up as if to kill me, then melt away with everything else. Joy and resolve, too, melt away. But I don't stop. Like sand pouring madly from a broken hourglass, everything that is me drains away. But I pour new emotions and resolve over it, barely managing to use it as a momentary driving force. All that's left is to overwrite. I read the new version.
The standard contract used by Xiong Dale, the managing director of the development department at Daydream Inc. The effect of this contract originates from the authority of the Yellow Dragon, and Xiong Dale is using it by seizing the core of this authority from the dragon entity that was demoted to a Daydream mascot. The remaining entity is presumed to have been inserted into a certain theme park ghost story at the Cheerful Research Institute. For detailed records, see the Pleasant Theme Park entry. A faint trace of the core remains on the contract. It looks like an eyeball, and this form is reminiscent of the wish-fulfilling orb of the dragon in folklore. Xiong Dale placed the dragon cores she collected into a giant eye, using dozens of eyeballs as a symbol of her ability. All of this authority is stored in the form of contracts, classified into respective binders, and placed the bookshelf in Xiong Dale's private office. However, recently, due to an arbitrary machination, Xiong Dale has lost the contract of one pupil. This is the authority of the Yellow Dragon, and it is currently in the hands of Kim Solium.
I nodded.
It's complete.
I looked at the contract in my grasp. The contract of the Yellow Dragon was in my hand. With my collapsing hand, I tore it. A tearing sound rang out. On the rooftop filled with the sounds of gongs, cymbals, and bells, another, more dissonant tearing sound rang out. The sound of me ripping paper. What foolish, Director Chong stopped speaking. Dozens of eyes simultaneously fixed on the torn paper in my hand. They must be familiar with it. After all, this is what was written on it. The contract read, Contract. The subject hereby enters into the following contract. The subject, Hran After Party B, transfers the exclusive and complete ownership of the core to Xiong Dale, Hran After Party A, and shall permanently forfeit the right to use the core. Party A shall grant Party B a new role, and Party B shall comply with the rules of employment for said role and faithfully perform the duties assigned. Party A, Xiong Dale. Party B, Yellow Dragon. Clauses so far from legal formality they bordered on tyranny. This was the standard contract Director Chong used to seize the core from a dragon, and the designated subject was already written. Yellow Dragon. The core of the Yellow Dragon, the one who possessed the authority of contract. This very contract was the repository of all of Director Chong's contracts, the anchor of her absolute authority. And as if to prove that this contract itself stemmed from the authority of that Yellow Dragon's core, it had a faint, circular pattern, just like my contract had. And so a three-part syllogism emerges. 1. Director Chong's contracts derive their power from the Yellow Dragon's core. 2. I edited the wiki, turning my contract into the Yellow Dragon's contract, the very proof of the authority of contract itself, and I tore it. 3. Therefore, all contracts held by Director Chong are at this moment null and void. This logic holds. And at this moment, Direct Chong's eye in the sky is watching. A furious tremor descends upon the rooftop. The pupils within the transparent lens dart about erratically, bulging and popping like inflammations inside the eye. The dragon's cores, having lost the foundation of their authority, a garbled voice screamed.
Come back! You things who have no place to go after being by me, re-earn and keep your plus.
A sound no human can withstand echoes. The festering azure dragon wraps itself around its people on the rooftop, trying desperately to shield them. They didn't die. I felt Agent Choi's blood streaming from his eyes, nose, and mouth as he grabbed me, trying to pull me back to the rooftop. But my lower body was already gone, and my organs and chest have collapsed. And this was not what he should be doing right now. With an arm that is little more than a skeleton, I struck the pole Agent Choi was holding. A bell jingled. Agent Choi flinched for only a moment, then lifted his head to Guangxiao, and to his own magic weapon, the one that must perform the final rite. He avoided looking at the giant eye with dozens of pupils bulging out in all directions, and with staggering effort, took a step forward. He shook the bell at the end of the pole. The moment a droplet splashed from it and touched the inside of the lens, an unintelligible sound echoed, followed by a string of chimes. The sky closed, the great disaster departed. The resolution of the rolling eyeball with its dozens of pupils gradually blurs. Agent Choi collapses, vomiting blood at that moment. The azure dragon opened its mouth and soared. Its claws curled around and grasped the disappearing giant eye. The surface of the lens cracked slightly, and one or two pupils, unable to withstand the pressure, popped out. A golden something, one of the dragon's cores, a wish-fulfilling orb, disappeared into the azure dragon's mouth as if drawn by gravity, and then the sky had closed. In the silence, everyone on the rooftop realized the chasing Guangxiu ritual had succeeded. A low roar filled the air as the azure dragon descended. Agent Choi and I slid off its body as it landed softly on the rooftop. A divine light flashed. Its streamlined body, shimmering with gold, indigo, and blue, coiled tightly around the rooftop, and its massive face drew near to the people there. It dropped something in front of me. A cracked golden orb thudded to the ground. Yellow Dragon's Core. Cheongdale's 33rd pupil. It symbolizes the authority of contract. Cheongdale was able to store her collected cores and divine powers as a file cabinet through this pupil. However, due to certain circumstances, it had now been ejected from the lens and drawn to the body of its original owner. It flickered for a moment, then burrowed into my crushed body, and it vanished to a place unknown.
Agent Grapes.
Agent Haim tried to support me, but I just slid down. I can see the azure dragon's eyes looking down at my mangled form. Its gaze lingered, as if it wanted to help more, as if it wanted to tell me something more. But in the end it had no choice but to lift its head, because the time had come. The azure dragon left the rooftop, but the festering shape of its body was no longer the same. Parts of its flesh glowed as flesh and scales filled in, as if it were taking on a complete silhouette. A low roar sounded again as rain began to fall. The azure dragon, having reclaimed its core, cut through the rain, engraving its mystical and divine form in the air. The brilliant, shimmering waterway disappeared back into the swimming pool, covering the roads of Segwang Metropolitan City, without a splash, without a ripple. The swimming pool of Blue Dream Water Park vanished with the ebbing tide, sucked back into the fire hydrant. Only the quiet sound of rain remains. This should have been a scene so mystical and moving it brought tears to my eyes. But I felt nothing.
Grapesy.
Agent Hagum cried, I knew. My final attempt had succeeded. Managing Director Chong Dale would no longer have the luxury of bringing hell upon the ritual participants, because she would need time to fully control the dragon's cores, the pupils she had managed so stably, organized in a file cabinet, the authority of contract, because all the special contracts she had made with her workers had lost their binding force and effect. She would need time to recover, a year, perhaps even more. Director Shang Jiale would surely find another way, but until then, there would be a sufficient grace period, and in return for that, I am no longer here.
You did it,
Someone said.
I did it, Kim Salim.
Stand back,
Said another. I no longer have a form, I am disappearing. My cognitive abilities remain, but they are refining into something inhuman. The protrusions of personality and emotion melt away, leaving only their traces. I feel no fear at the end of my ego, which I had tried so hard to protect, to maintain until the very last moment. What remains now is pattern recognition, situational analysis, and a vague consciousness. I can perceive something indescribably great or terrible head-on without going mad or being wounded, because everything that could be wounded has disappeared, or because I have become such a thing.
Mr. Road.
Section Chief Lee Jaehyun from We Help looked down at me. I looked back at them. I read the intention to trade for the Yellow Dragon's core from that alien, plural entity. But I know that because of this core, I am showing signs of life of a collapsed form that has not died. For the sake of survival, I can't make a trade. Even so, the single entity inside us that is inhabiting Section Chief Lee Jaehyun's identity does not leave.
Can you hear me?
Everything except my right arm has melted away. I try to affirm by nodding, but realize I have no spine to support my head.
Agent Grapes.
My head slams onto the floor. A jeet drop tinkled. It has no effect. It brings me no enlightenment. To return the way I came, there must be a path. But I have no path. It's all gone. Because if I had left one, I wouldn't have been able to edit the wiki. Another jade drop tinkled.
Snap out of it, Kim Solium. Snap out of it and...
A hand grabbed the collapsed pile of flesh. Bone fragments, contaminated golden blood clots, and organ tissue oozed between its fingers. Smoke rose.
Agent Choi.
Someone shouted.
Wait, so?
I pushed the person who was about to be contaminated away with smoke. A voice came from within the black smoke.
You said you wanted to go home.
Home, ah. I realized the last of my willpower, a single grain of sand-like crumb of emotion that had been scraped from the bottom. With that strength, I flicked something out of the pocket of the suit jacket lying on the floor. A cylinder, a dream collector. What had been my last hope popped out of the pocket and rolled across the rooftop floor with a clatter. It was empty. I had ended the supernatural disaster in Segwang Metropolitan City and driven away Managing Director Chong Dale. I had succeeded in all of it. The possibility that an incredible, high concentration of dream essence might have been produced all at once, enough to make children's paradise syrup in one go. That possibility ended as a possibility, because only humans can collect dream essence.
Sullium.
My body had completely collapsed. A lump settled onto the rooftop floor. I no longer have a form. My humanity, regained and built up through countless attempts and countless realizations, hits rock bottom, revealing the true identity of my flesh, the recycled corpse of the yellow dragon. The consciousness of one who has read that dwells within it, a resident of a world where ghost stories do not exist. I am no longer human. I feel no fear, anger, or sorrow about it. I feel no joy or relief that the people on the rooftop are safe. I feel nothing. I cannot move. I am just a formless lump. Therefore, Kim Solium does not exist. Agent Hagum looked at the melted lump of flesh before her, the thing that had been Agent Grapes. The agent who had charged at Guangxiu had now lost his form. Only a lump remained. From the heap of black contaminated golden-tinged red flesh and bone, black smoke rose every time the flesh pulsed. That bizarre and strange puddle. Nowhere in it was there a trace of the person who had been a new employee at Daydream, the youngest agent of Team Humu 1. Only the suit and mask, tangled beneath it, seemed to prove that, until just moments ago, this had been a person. Agent Hagum felt her breath catch in her throat, but she managed to suppress it.
Agent Choi.
He didn't respond.
From this point on, Agent Grapes' state, a ghost story entity.
Her cracked voice echoed across the rainy rooftop.
Using Goblin Fire, we will first isolate Agent Grapes and move him a safe location.
Right now, wait there.
Squelch. Section Chief Lee Jahian detached the tank from the broken potion maker and began scooping Kim Solium's mangled flesh into it. Agent Hagum opened her mouth to stop him, but soon closed it with a grim expression. She understood the feelings of someone who had been on the same team. Squelch. Having succeeded in putting the entire lump into the tank, Section Chief Lee Jahian quietly asked the tank, as if he believed it could converse.
Do you need help? Indicate with smoke.
The lump only pulsed. Still, Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun moved. He searched Kim Solium's jacket and found the nostalgia candy. Then he reached into the tank, rummaging through the collapsed lump, found the digestive organs, and pushed the nostalgia candy into them. The candy dissolved in an instant. Nothing happened. Silence hung over the rooftop.
Agent Grapes.
These veterans, who had explored ghost stories many times, understood that he could not be restored, that it was a complete transformation into an irreversible state, and that all possibilities had already been exhausted. Clatter, clatter, thud. The empty dream collector, which had been rolling across the rooftop in the rain and wind, brushed past the tank and came to rest at someone's feet. Agent Choi picked up the empty cylinder at his feet, the thing Kim Solium had so desperately brought with him. The dream collector. Agent Choi clenched it tightly, and he spoke to the lump.
Yeah, you were trying to collect the solution in here, huh? To make a wish-granting potion. To go back home.
Silence.
Solium, I've been thinking about it for a while.
Blood streamed down his face, but he didn't wipe it away. He just stared at the empty cylinder in his hand.
You said it, didn't you? This situation itself, this place is a ghost story and a supernatural disaster to me, you said that.
Raindrops fell into the black smoke in the tank.
Why would you say something like that?
Lightning flashed. In the rain, the agent spoke to the lump.
You know, when we get a rescue request from a disaster, there are quite a few cases where a ghost story is just messing with us, you know? No, actually, you should assume that's the more likely case. It's rare for a civilian to make a rescue request in their right mind.
A drop of water slid from his hair.
It's either a trap or it's already too late. But sometimes there are cases where you can really save them.
His head bowed.
A moment when it really was a civilian, and you had to believe their words. You have to be good at telling those people apart, and know even if you can't, you have to try to send them back if you get the chance. Yeah, that seems right.
The agent tried to look at Kim Solium.
So I think?
The man in the blue jacket reached into his pocket, and he took something out. An object that looked similar to the one Kim Solium had. A dream collector.
Here.
A golden light shimmered inside it, collected by a person who went through the Flower Golden Resort, the Segwang Metropolitan City Annihilation Class ghost story, and chasing Guangxiu away.
You have to go home, Solium.
The dream essence liquid. Agent Choi found the dream incubator. The very same device that had once been installed in the underground laboratory. The place where he had caught Kim Solium spying was now being kept safely in the subway-turned-resort's facilities. As cherished as the desperate wish of the person who had found it, Agent Choi poured all the liquid from the dream collector he was carrying into it. The system displayed a number, 0141000. 1,410,000. An amount so enormous that any member of the Daydream Field S investigation team who collected dream essence as part of their daily work would have been horrified to see it. It was, after all, from a highest-grade darkness. Moreover, it wasn't just cleared, but concluded. The concentration of dream essence, condensed, from an extinction-class supernatural disaster that had been sealed for ages, was terrifying, however.
It's not enough.
It was less than a third of the 5 million points Kim Solium had predicted would be necessary. It made sense. Agent Choi hadn't contributed much to eliminating the direct cause of the Segwang metropolitan city supernatural disaster itself. That had been the work of Kim Solium and Ho Yuwon. The only reason such a massive amount was extracted despite that was because he had played a decisive role in chasing Guangxiol at the very end. Because that had been the fundamental source of the incident.
Don't worry.
Even so, Agent Choi said it calmly, because
I wasn't the only one carrying a collector.
And the next person arrives. Those who remember Kim Solium.
This way, sir.
Yes.
The lump in the tank perceived it. Lee Jae-hyun, a body inhabited by an alien entity, entered the small research facility in the resort. He performed a check, as if inspecting the dream incubator's safety and condition. And once that was done, he inserted the dream collector he was holding without hesitation. The system updated, 02665000. The number updates, and one more, 03013000.
Civilian, do you have 2 collectors?
Yes.
The first was from successfully escaping the repeating May 4th of Segwang metropolitan city, and the total points this man had accumulated by later returning to the rooftop, joining the final stages of Kim Solium's conclusion, and contributing to chasing Guangxiol was even greater than Agent Choi's. The lump in the tank knows that belongs to us. Lee Jae-hyun's collectors were clearly items issued by both the company and the project that he had deliberately not returned. To have handled things so cunningly meant he had intended to use them for something else. The lump perceived the will of us regarding this choice, and strangely it confirms that us did not consider this a loss. It had judged this as a payment in exchange for saving a single entity, the very entity performing this act, Lee Jae-hyun. Lee Jae-hyun said nothing as he finished. He merely watched the tank quietly, the tank containing the lump that had once been Kim Solium. Inside the transparent tank he had torn from the potion maker, the lump that still intermittently spewed black smoke pulsed. Beside it, the mascot costume lay limply on the ground. They had tried to put it on Kim Solium, hoping it might give him form like the security team uniform, but it was a meaningless failure. It didn't work. The melted flesh, bones, and mass of organs remained as they were. But Lee Jae-hyun was not shaken. He simply said this.
Well, I will call the next person.
The lump in the tank sensed a small being entering the resort.
Hello.
Lee Sung-gai had just escorted Go Young-gyun to her family and left Segwang metropolitan city for the outskirts, and now she had returned to the resort. The employee's tone as she spoke to Agent Hagum was as cheerful as ever.
She was reunited with her family safely.
That's wonderful to hear.
But soon she saw it.
Oh.
Someone who had been reduced to pulp at the end of the rooftop festival. What had once been Kim Solium, now just a remnant of flesh, pulsing and twitching in the tank.
Huh.
Lee Song-hai was not sad, because appearance isn't important. But since he probably wouldn't prefer being in that state, if she could help, she should.
I'll just put this in for now.
The system read, D03193000. Lee Song-gai's points weren't as high as those who had directly participated in the ritual, but they were still significant, as she had successfully returned from a high-grade disaster. But she pours it in without a second thought. She's already collected all her wish ticket points anyway. And
good people should live well.
Because in Lee Song-hai's standards, that is simply the correct state of affairs, however.
But we're still short on points, aren't we?
Her eyes drifted to the mass-produced mascots standing outside the facility. The resort was still intact, but those mascots had lost their vitality. They only gave a few responses, like a theme park mascot should, as if they were machines or kiosks performing only set tasks. That in itself makes people recall Kim Solem's current state. But Lee Seonghai thinks of something else. The certainty that going in and out of this resort won't accumulate many points.
Even if we find another high-grade ghost story, it won't be as efficient as Sagwang Metropolitan City. We could all die trying to conclude it just to extract more liquid.
I see.
But Lee Jahyun replies calmly.
There are still people left.
The next person comes.
So this is Roe Deer.
Yes. Assistant Manager Yoon Ha and Agent Ryu Jagwan. The people Kim Solium had desperately tried to pull out of May 4th had finally awoken. Coming to their senses in the middle of a soul street or in a well, the two were brought to the resort by their respective team members, and of them, the one who arrived first.
Who?
Yoon Ha-jae looked at the lump of flesh in the tank. The lump perceives the other's gaze darkening, and it knows. This person had already experienced countless superiors and subordinates who had gone missing. Their last sighting record a horrific state within a ghost story. An irreversible state. An immutable horror, a miserable end. To reverse this, only one thing came to a Daydream employee's mind, a wish ticket. Of course, she also considered the possibility that Kim Solium could just go to a world line where he was fine. But if the original wish ticket exists, it was a gamble worth taking, the former field investigation team assistant manager judged.
All right.
The lump watches as Yoon Ha-jae, too, unsparingly plugged her collector into the incubator. The number rose again. The golden liquid rippled, reflecting light upon the black smoke. This person's dream collector, naturally, had an incredibly high concentration of the potion gathered within it. Trapped in the subway for a long time, entering an extinction-class disaster, then escaping through the high-grade resort. Even if she hadn't contributed to the conclusion, it was an insane, irregular case. As far as Yoon Ha-jae knew, there was virtually no precedent for someone surviving long-term in such a crazy high-grade darkness with their dream collector intact. Well, to be precise, it was closer to long-term death than long-term survival. But she came out alive, didn't she? That's what's important. She almost let out a reflexive whistle as she saw the insane number rising in the incubator. The system displayed D039710000. A hollow laugh escaped her.
Oi, this doesn't feel real. If I reported this to the company, I could get at least 5 wish tickets, right? Maybe more if I negotiate. Of course, I have no intention of doing that. You know that, you Roe Deer punk.
Assistant Manager Yoon Ha-jae, who had been speaking cheerfully, slowly let the grin on her lips soften. Then she leaned close to the tank and spoke in a low voice.
Thank you. I know you went all out and pushed yourself to save me and that agent. And
her voice sounds gentle.
I now remember accompanying you as a reporter. Thinking back, I think I had a crazy dream like that a long time ago.
And Yoon Ha-jae, who had spoken of the events on the surface of Sagwang Metropolitan City, whispered in an even lower voice.
Don't worry about Min Seong. The team leader and I will take care of him.
The lump did not react. It is just a piece of flesh spewing black smoke. But Yoon Ha-jae smiled and tapped the tank, as if she had heard a reply.
I'll be going now.
And the next person arrives at the resort. The lump in the tank perceives the being entering the room with a hardened expression, blue eyes, a massive frame, black hair. It was the first agent from the Disaster Management Bureau that Kim Solium had met. He appeared here, safe and sound. Ryu Jagwan approached and stood close to the tank, and he spoke.
Agent Nim, I mentioned before that an agent from the Disaster Management Bureau saved me when I was in high school, on my way to school.
He spoke to the lump.
So, we meet like this. It's not uncommon to meet acquaintances from the past, or witness scenes from the future in a supernatural phenomenon. But
Ryu Jagwan took a breath.
I never thought I would be one of those cases. I've always wanted to thank you, both of you.
The lump in the tank perceives the agent's eyes staring at it. That is all. Ryu Jagwan, who had been looking at the pulpy, black smoke-wreathed agent, took out his dream collector.
I don't know, Agent Nim. My judgment hasn't changed.
If your home is gone, you can build a new one. Clinging to an unattainable wish might lead to a terrible end. If you can't turn back, it might become too late, but Ryu Jagwan looks at the lump. If it's already too late, if this is the only thing they can try, if it's what the other person desperately wished for.
Still, I wish to repay you.
The dream essence liquid Ryu Jagwan collected flowed into the incubator. The system read, D047490000. It glitters. Lee Jae-in, who had watched the entire scene, spoke.
The next person is coming in.
There was also dream essence liquid pending in Director Ho's counseling office. dream essence from the project that were being temporarily stored, not yet offered up to the company. When the counseling office closed, those cylinders were ejected outside, along with those who were inside. Fortunately, among them, there was a being who instinctively sought out and plundered things lost in their territory.
Here.
Tall, gaunt man in shabby clothes. The security chief, who himself looked worn out, holds out the dream collector he was carrying.
This was being stored in the counseling office.
What began as a slow and rough motion soon transformed into a surprisingly efficient one, skillfully finding the insertion port with practiced ease. The liquid was drawn in from the collector. The system displayed 049741100. Those points, unrelated to the time of the conclusion, were not an absurdly high amount, but it was still golden liquid that would slosh and fill the incubator. The security chief said nothing. He didn't express shock or sorrow like the others, nor did he talk to it, as if Kim So-Liam were there, perfectly fine. He didn't ask about this situation where Kim So-Liam, tearing up Director Cheong's contract, had set the security team free of their restrictions and constraints. He simply stroked the tank once, then quietly lies down in a corner, as if waiting. The inside of the incubator was now filled with holographic light. The self-illuminating thing filled the small research facility. It was like a small pond filled with wish tickets. It was a scene that felt almost transcendental, but that was it. The system read 049741100. The points stopped there, with 25,900 points short. Without reaching 5 million, the lump feels no emotion. But it could calculate that there was no one else left to come. No one remaining who would willingly hand over their dream essence liquid to help Kim So-Liam.
Should we get the rest from another darkness?
We'll have to, civilian. We've already picked out some candidates, so don't worry.
The agent with the scar on his neck taps the tank, trying to sound cheerful.
Grapes, you just wait, okay? We'll be back soon.
The lump knows they won't be back, because resort number 2 will soon disappear. By the time these people enter another ghost story to gather the remaining 25,900 points, this place, with the mascot's influence weakened, will no longer hold and will soon collapse. And everything would end. The dream incubator would vanish along with the resort, and the lump too will disappear with it, to be stacked and abandoned in a warehouse behind the resort. Forever, for an unspeakably long time. Even predicting all of this, there was no reason to struggle. Because there is no desire, because there is no fear, the lump simply existed. And it is about to end. Knock, knock.
Who knew?
Everyone.
Agent Hagum opens the door, panting, and enters the facility.
I brought one more.
The lump perceives the one entering through the door, an unexpected person.
What is it?
Baek Sehyun. The Daydream employee wearing an eye patch looked disgruntled but also slightly anxious.
I heard there's liquid. Hey, we have no intention of giving it to you.
Baek Sehyun's annoyed voice rings out.
I heard that agent was in danger, so I came to make a deal. That person. The one who came to Jisan. The one wearing glasses. Right. Where is he?
Everyone's gazes gather. Baek Sehyun entered the resort's research facility rigidly, and he too saw what the others were staring at, the lump of flesh.
This is the agent. That.
But Baek Sehyun swallows his words, his face shifted beyond denial to a stark immediate acceptance, paling first, then collapsing into anger. A sneer twisted his mouth.
I knew this would happen.
His eye burned.
Uselessly trying to save people. It was obvious it would end like this. I don't know why he even bothered. This is what you get for it.
Agent Choi, clenching his teeth, tried to intervene with a smile, but the tirade died before he could. Baek Sehyun's voice trembled and stopped.
Hey, can you understand me?
The lump cannot respond.
Hello?
Baek Sehyun stepped closer to the tank, and he speaks. The conjecture he couldn't voice. The reason he couldn't take his eye patch off to check this being's halo. The identity of the agent who came to Jisan Village.
Are you actually?
The agent who can't be contacted when a certain person goes missing. An agent who seems to know him strangely well. That was.
Ah, never mind.
Baek Sehyun took his hand off the tank. He couldn't get an answer now anyway. No, perhaps he wasn't ready yet, so he only said this.
Pay me back later.
He turned back to the others.
If I give you this, you can definitely save him, right? You're not going to divert it somewhere else, are you?
We are not.
Haha.
Baek Sehyun finally took the dream collector from his pocket. When the project started to go sideways with Kim Solem's disappearance, he had deserted it. But because the administrative processing for his issued collector had been delayed, and no return request came, he had dragged his feet without returning it. He had calculated that when the project blew up, he'd have to return it anyway, but maybe he could get a slightly better deal by handing it over to the company side. And he had come to this moment. Here, he takes out the dream collector and plugs it into the dream incubator. The system read 049744100, and so 0502160. The points were gathered, the amount Kim Solium needed to go home, all of it. The lump looks at the sparkling dream incubator, at the liquid inside it, DE050022160. The lump looks at the sparkling dream incubator, at the liquid inside it, DE05002160. Over 5 million dream points ripple in a brilliant display of colors. The lump continued to watch, even though it felt no meaning in it.
Solium, just wait a moment, okay?
Even as people took turns standing guard like a fire watch. Even as the mascots outside would intermittently freeze mid-movement as if glitching. Even when at some point he was left all alone. He remained there in the dark research facility, with the iridescently shimmering dream essence liquid, with the astronomical essence of dreams gathered as a result of what Kim Solium had done. And then a person opened the door and stepped inside. The brilliant light of the dream essence cast sparkling light and shadows across her face.
Solium?
Go Youngguian. Stisserson, who is Kim Solium's batchmate, was about to close the door, but then noticing Agent Heguium following her. She left the door slightly open and walked in, and she looks at the lump in the tank. Her face was hard to see in the shadows.
I rescued my family safely.
The light rippled.
Thank you. Thanks to you. I didn't get lost, and I was able to make it home.
The lump perceived the sketchbook paper in Go Youngjiun's hand, the map the mascot had given her, a map that guides one to their destination.
You helped me, so I came because I wanted to help with anything I could. I heard that you needed me.
Go Youngjiun took a deep breath, then cleared her throat, trying to adopt a more everyday tone.
I saw all sorts of people at the resort on my way here, and not just people.
She hesitated slightly.
At the resort, I saw a bizarre entity with a TV for a head, who claimed to be a friend of Mr. Rodeer. He said his name was Braun.
Go Younggyun's gaze drifted to the items placed beside the tank. Kim Solium's belongings, especially the pink rabbit doll placed on the neatly folded suit. But her eyes soon returned to the lump.
He told me something, that he wanted to give me a hint.
The host had apparently said that this time, a specific sentence won't be needed to make a wish. That simply, the wish will simply be granted.
He said that was a truth Solium had confirmed.
The truth Kim Solium had discovered. The traces left in the Cheerful Research Institute. The confirmation of a product similar to the Children's Paradise syrup among the pharmaceutical company's potions. It is called a wish ticket. The lump also perceived the words that had been deleted and unreadable at the time, because it was that kind of being.
When I checked, the agents really were in possession of such a document.
Presumed to be a degraded version, with the incubator's cultivation function removed, and the required liquid concentration for production arbitrarily lowered. Degradation examples requires verbalized sentence expression, deterioration of the world line alteration function, compromised wish fulfillment instead of the advent of paradise. Daydream's wish ticket is a degraded version, and if the degraded version requires a verbalized sentence expression, it means the original does not, meaning it grants the wish the user thinks of exactly as it is, without distortion. And the reason the host of the late-night talk show gave Go Younggyun that hint was that since Solium can't make a wish right now, she will make the wish for him, someone who would not steal the chance to make a wish, someone who was sufficiently close to Kim Solium, and the most rational, wisest wisher among the people Kim Solium knew, the one with experience. Go! Younggyun looked at the lump with a hardened expression.
Solium.
Her hand gripped the side of the tank. The lump saw her fingers pale and trembling.
Honestly, I'm not as rational a person as you think I am, Solium.
Her desperate voice rang out.
And I'm not a genius, either. This situation, too. I don't know if I can really make your wish for you, exactly as you want it.
A trembling voice spoke the truth. That is that she only found her mom. Her dad was out, and he couldn't make it back home.
I think I might wish for my dad to come back, without even realizing.
Her voice shook.
But when I told Agent Choi that he performed a divination ritual to check on my father's whereabouts, and then he told me that my father had not passed away.
The trembling subsided.
He's just receiving some heartfelt counseling from someone.
A sharp breath. When Go Yoongjin lifted her head, her eyes were firm.
So I might be able to do it. No, I will do it. Of course, I can't ignore the possibility that I might waver in the process, so Agent Hagium will hold on to me, to make sure my resolve and sincerity don't falter.
The lump sensed the shadow of an agent approaching.
The others are protecting the resort to make sure no other problems arise in the process, because the mascots have stopped. I'm just telling you in case you were curious.
The lump did not react. Looking at the pile of flesh, Go Yoongjun steadied her breath.
Then, I'll begin.
Go Yoongjun put on a pair of gloves. They belonged to Ryu Jaegwon, an item that blocks corrupt infiltration from supernatural phenomena of fracture level and below. But Ryu Jaegwon had calmly and quickly explained that it could withstand even higher grades for a moment.
Young Yoon, this is a ritual, so the one who will ingest it must be in charge from the beginning.
Go Youngian nodded at Agent Hagium's words, then plunged her gloved hand into the pile of the yellow dragon's flesh. Splurch. The lump knew the gloves are a ridiculously fleeting defense. Her hand was already beginning to melt. This thing is toxic. But Go Youngjiun grits her teeth and rummages through it, through the organs, flesh, and bone, until finally she found it. She pulled out her half-melted hand. In her grasp is a small, disc-shaped object, dripping with a dark golden liquid and bits of flesh, a pop socket. Go Yoongian hastily takes a mouthful of the regeneration potion Agent Hagium holds out. Then, without delay, she wipes the liquid off the pop socket and heads to the bottom panel of the dream incubator. The traces where a button had once been torn off. There she attaches the pop socket, just as Kim So-lium had done one day in front of Agent Choi. Click. Kim So-lium's objective was achieved. The voice of the agent with the belted sword, the four-sided divine sword, rang out.
It's done. Now, we move on to the next step. It will be more stable for the subject of the ritual to participate directly, so at this most opportune moment, Kim So-lium will participate.
Skreek. The lump perceived movement. The tank was being pushed. Someone was moving it. J3, who had quietly entered the room and gotten up at some point, was moving the tank. The mangled pile of flesh inside the tank swayed, sloshing against the walls. And when it arrives in front of the dream incubator, J3 lifts the tank and tilts it forward, half spilling its contents. Splurch. The lump slid out, colliding limply with the front of the incubator. The liquid smeared across the bottom panel, but it was also a decisive action. As the weight of the flesh pressed down, the lump had pressed the button on the dream incubator. The button to produce the children's paradise potion. Whir. The sound of the machine activating rang out. DEU5216. The numbers on the panel fluctuate wildly and drop. DEO499999. The inside of the dream incubator's tank churns violently. DEO399999. The iridescent, hologram-like lights condense, and a golden light seeps out between them. Within the massive liquid, points of condensed light flash. The people stare blankly at the sight of the Milky Way-like stream of light. DEO299999. It poured downward. People who wish upon a shooting star. People who imagine that paradise lies on a distant star. Perception and symbolism. All those dreams of wishes in paradise gather into a single point, as if pouring out all at once. A brilliant star twinkles in the black universe. And at DE00999999 it was sucked down to the bottom of the tank. Whir. All of the overflowing, ecstatic liquid disappeared. DE000216, DE00021601. The machine stopped operating, and the sound of something popped out from the bottom went off. With a trembling hand, Go Yoongjin picked up what had fallen into the dream incubator's dispenser. A single glass bottle revealed itself. Children's Paradise Syrup, labeled grape flavor, with 7 stars in 2 rows. Light scattered from beyond the crude font and standardized label. There is no sketch of a famous painting of a cherub blowing a trumpet, no grapevines, and no beautiful stylized border decorations. And yet it was overwhelming. It looked like a dream. The clue Kim So-lium had found. The original version of the wish ticket, finally created. Go Yoongjun stared blankly at it, now that it had finally taken form. Inside the glass, a syrup as dark as the universe swirled and glittered on its own. Light seemed ready to pierce through it. As if filled with stars, the syrup shimmered and flashed with a different luster each moment, as if she were holding midnight starlight in her hand. Just then, a humming sound rose from the agent with the four-sided divine sword. The goblin fire, riding the melody, snapped Go Youngjun back to herself, a tuning that leads the way. Go Youngjun came to her senses, took a deep breath, then unsealed the bottle and swallowed it. The brilliant liquid disappeared past her lips, and she wished, the promised wish. Please let what Kim Solium wants come true. It could perhaps be summarized in such a sentence. And this is a sentence with far too many loopholes to be used for a Daydream Inc. wish ticket, because there are ways to escape the timing, the subject, and even the scope of what he wants means. Saying such a sentence to a wish ticket would have been treated as an act of foolishness. So just in case, Go Youngyu did not think of the sentence. She only thinks of the emotion and the desire, and the children's paradise syrup accurately discerned the context and essential meaning of that wish. The person named Kim Solium, as she knew him, the new employee of Daydream, who worked for Team Humu 1 of the Disaster Management Bureau, and who does his best to get through ghost stories. A coward. A person who tried not to get lost in the midst of fear. The thing that person had constantly wished for. The thing he wanted. The dream essence liquid, pouring toward its goal, read the implications and gives the wish a concrete form. I want to go home. And for someone to go home, a prerequisite was needed. That subject had to exist in this moment. Therefore, Kim Solium now exists. I blinked. I could see a hand inside the lump. No, the lump is coalescing, and I was being revealed from within it. Kim Solium's body finds its form, hands, feet, legs, torso. My vocal cords and mouth returned to their proper places. It was possible. Like a shipwreck washed ashore by the tide, I found the strength to reassemble myself. The first thing I felt was discomfort. Fear, panic, dread, anxiety, pity. Thick, overwhelming sensations came first, and then they sharpened. The terror of seeing someone die, the unease of lying to an agent, the queasiness of seeing long-term missing persons, pity, fear, anxiety. I can now perceive everything in between, and the good things too. Joy, pleasure, thrill, relief, the exhilaration of high-fiving a teammate after a narrow escape, the overwhelming emotion of safely rescuing someone and getting out unscathed myself, the delight of meeting someone I was happy to see, longing, gratitude. That's right. Thanks to the people who unsparingly poured out the dream essence liquid, who drank the paradise syrup and made a wish for me, who went to such lengths to do all that, I returned to being human. The situation right now must be crazy. I hurriedly lifted my head. I wanted to thank them first. Then I had to quickly help get the situation under control. There was no one around. No, to be precise, I couldn't see anyone. Something rather cozy and opaque was surrounding me. I reached out my hand. I touched something. A membrane? A round shape. Egg-shaped. It felt as if I were inside an egg. What is this? Feeling flustered, I moved my body with the intention of tearing the membrane and getting out. Something caught my foot. I looked down. At the bottom of the tank I had been in, something that wasn't there before had appeared. A black box, a familiar shape. It's the Dark Exploration Record merch box. The beginning of all this. The item box I had received after winning first place on the roulette wheel at the pop-up store was there. I bent down and opened the box. Inside it there are stairs. Stairs that, even at a glance, are far deeper and longer than the depth of the box. A single sheet of paper, a notice printed on A4, is stuck to the top, fluttering. An arrow points to the way back. Below it reads, Dark Exploration Record Pop-Up Store.